Can you know God fully with your finite mind?
What do you mean by know God?
Like, can you know everything about him?
No.
So it would take a infinite mind to know God fully, right? Okay. So Jesus himself says that no one knows the Father except the Son.
Okay.
And no one knows the Son except the Father who he chooses to reveal him. So if Jesus is saying that he is the only one who knows the Father, he knows God, everything about him, knows him fully, doesn't that demonstrate that Jesus is explicitly claiming to have an omniscient mind?
I'll let you finish.
I'm asking this question.
Okay, but I need to finish the earlier stuff too.
We're not skipping nothing.
You say you're trying to change the subject.
No, it's a flow. Right? It's a flow. Because you changed it from Messiah. You changed it from Messiah.
Bro, because we discussed that, and I told you I'll bring you evidences back next week. So then, didn't I tell you that? You seem surprised right now.
No, because you talked about Messiah. You talked about Messiah's nature.
Messiah, and the meaning of the word Messiah from the Quran, from Ahadith, and who else it has been used for. That is what you asked for. I will bring it for you, no problem, right? Now you're trying to skip because you know that
skip what?
You know you're trying to skip, but it's all right.
I'm going with the flow, man.
You're trying to flow away from it, but I got you. Now, let's say this very clearly, right? For you to say that Jesus knew as the Father knew, meaning he knew everything, he just did not declare it, that is very different than from what Danny said, first off, right?
It's a different explanation.
It's a different explanation. It cannot be both. Either he knew and didn't declare it, or at that time that was something hidden from him, veiled from him, and he would then know it at a different time. It cannot be both. That is why that's a contradiction.
No.
Now,
I'll respond to that in a second. I'll respond to that in a second.
Now, secondly, when I gave you a very clear example of how the word know is used differently. In the example you gave of Paul, right? Which is where he says that all I know is this, which is showing an emphasis that is very different from saying that nobody knows it except one person.
How?
Those are, let me give you an example again, which I gave you, but you kind of,
but hold on, Uthman, he said I knew nothing.
Nothing, right? Sure.
Except, so it's the same example here.
I'll give you
same
an example
phraseology.
Right now, I'll give you an example, right? Which I gave already, but you're trying to have amnesia.
No, don't try to say it's different.
Right? Let me
you just use the same phrase.
When I'm talking to Danny, and he tells me, do you like football? And I tell you, all I know about is the Raiders. That's all I know about, right? I know nothing but the Raiders. I'm not meaning that I don't know anything else about football. I'm showing an emphasis on a certain subject or a certain team. Here, an emphasis is being given to Jesus and the crucifixion. That is not the same as somebody asking me, what exit do you take? And I say, nobody knows it except my son. That is a total different use of the word. For you, hold on, let me finish. See how I listen to you? I listen to you.
You cut in a lot.
Let me finish.
You cut in sometimes.
All right. I told you I'm
interjected,
and I stayed quiet until you finished, and then I asked you, are you finished?
No, go ahead, Uthman. Go ahead.
So here, when you bring another example, this is why I said this is criminal, because what you're doing is the clear text reads something, and you're adding to it. When the text says that when is the restore of the kingdom of Israel, and Jesus' response here is, don't worry about it. That's not for you to worry about the seasons. You're saying this means he knew. That is total reading into the text what you want, right? If you ask, and I'm going to give this example again, even though it was very clear, because you kind of hid it in your memory, right? If you ask me, what time is the prayer at the mosque? And I tell you, look, nobody knows the time, not even the people praying there, not even me, not even anybody else. Only the imam knows, right? That is very specific. Now, if somebody else comes and asks me again, and out of frustration, I tell them, look, why are you worried about the timing? If you need to go to the prayer, just go to the mosque and you'll find it. That does not mean that I know. You're reading into it what is not in the text, right? And then you call it a shallow reading. It's not a shallow reading, it's a literal reading. And one is that you've already got a mindset made, and then you're bringing different explanations to justify something. Contradictory explanations just because you want to justify it and not stick to your text.
All right, so remember I asked you what is a contradiction, right?
Yes.
So
two things that cannot be.
Cannot be, okay. Yes. So if Jesus is speaking from a declarative sense,
okay, meaning that he knew,
meaning that he knows,
but he just doesn't want to declare
it's not for him to declare.
That's one
right?
thing.
Now, let's say this knowledge that he has is veiled. Does it mean that he doesn't know?
Hold on. You asked, right?
Yes.
So the difference there is, one is I know it, I'm just not going to declare it. The other is at that time it's hidden, I don't know it, and that's, again, right? When it's hidden, when it's not accessible, I don't have that knowledge to share. I can't get to it. It's something hidden from me. And it's not just that I don't want to declare it,
oh my
right?
goodness. Uthman.
Those are two, look, I gave you an example already, and you know about your Spanish class, right? If you studied something in Spanish.
You're going too far, you're going too far.
Hold on, let me just give this example again.
You already gave it.
Because it clarifies it.
It's a simple question.
If you knew something in your Spanish class, let me just finish.
No, it's a simple question.
You asked a question, let me finish.
I'm not talking about something being reminded, Uthman.
You asked me a question, you got to listen to my answer.
No, you're giving a whole, you're going off of something. I asked something very specific.
I'm giving you a specific answer. If you studied something in your Spanish class and you remember it, but you just don't want to declare
I'm not talking about memory.
Again, you're not letting me finish, bro.
Because you're going off on the wrong analogy.
Just let me finish, and then you can take
I don't want you to waste time on a...
It's not wasting time.
Yes,
when I speak, it's wasting time, and when you speak,
no,
it's not.
only when
like
it's a false analogy.
I think all your analogies were false, but I still listen to you out of respect. Now,
you're just not addressing what I'm saying.
Let me just speak. I let you speak, let me speak. When you remembered something from your Spanish class and you were just not declaring it out of respect for somebody else, the Jewish wedding analogy that you gave, that is not the same as if that knowledge had been hidden for you at that time. You could not recall it. It might be in your subconscious, but you do not say it because it's not there. Those are two different contradictory things.
Thank you so much. What you just said is a contradictory. That's why I tried to stop you from straw manning me.
That's not
I tried to stop you from wasting time. So it's okay. So when something is veiled, does that mean it doesn't exist? Yes or no?
You want me to respond?
Yeah, with a yes or no. I don't need a long explanation.
Look. You can't tell me how to respond.
It's a yes or no.
You can ask a question and I will respond my way.
Yes or no?
You want to answer? Listen.
It's a yes or no.
You want to answer?
I don't need a long explanation.
Look, you're not a judge, right? It's not a courtroom. You can't tell me answer.
No, Uthman, it's very simple. All right, ask it back to me. Ask it back to me. I can give you.
No, I'm not your puppet, bro. I'm not gonna pull my strings.
It's not about that. I'm just trying to demonstrate to you. It's a very simple question.
Listen. If you have access to the knowledge, if you have it and don't declare it, that is not the same as if it's hidden from you and you don't have it accessible at the time. Those are two different
Very good.
things.
All right, so here's my question to you. If something is veiled, does it mean that you don't have access to that thing anymore? Really?
At that moment, yes.
Okay, so
that's exactly what it means. Hidden from you at that time.
Okay, very good.
It might come back to you.
So we'll see how consistent you are.
Okay.
So does Allah not have a veil?
Okay, let me explain it to you. Let me explain it. You asked a question.
It's a yes or no.
Let me answer a question. No, it's not a yes or no. This is where you want to try to trick me.
It's either he has a veil or he doesn't have a veil.
If you're talking about his knowledge, there is no veil in the knowledge of Allah.
I didn't ask that.
Allah knows everything. His veil from us is that we cannot see him in this worldly life.
Great.
That's it.
So does Allah have a veil, yes or no?
Again, you're confusing two different things, and I'm not
going
to let
you.
I'm not going to let you.
No, I'm not.
I feel where you're going.
See it
Don't think you can do it. Now, there is a difference.
What is Allah's veil?
It's a nur, it's a light.
Exactly.
That stops us from seeing him.
Okay.
In this worldly life.
What happens if he removes it?
Then we see it. We see Allah.
And what happens?
The day of judgment.
No.
We see Allah.
No. What happens if Allah removes the light that veils his glory? Wait, first of all, what is?
Again, this has got nothing to do with what we're talking about.
No, it does, because we're talking about veil, and what you're doing is you're saying that because something is veiled, that means you don't have access to it anymore.
So let's do that.
Wait, hold on, I'm not done, please. Hold on, Uthman.
Have you seen Allah?
Uthman, I'm not done.
I will say no. There's a veil.
I'm not done.
It doesn't mean that Allah is there, of course.
I'm not done.
Right? But because there's a veil, I have no access to see Allah.
I like how you did that. I like how you did that.
Good.
So if we keep that same energy as we go.
Keep going.
All right. So when Allah says that He has a veil, what is Allah veiling? What exactly is He veiling?
Himself and His glory from the creation.
Very good.
Not ready for it.
So if He's veiling His glory, does that mean that He doesn't have access to His glory anymore?
Okay, again, you made a mistake there. He's not veiling His glory from Himself.
So?
It's from us. We do not have... Yeah, from us. Well, you didn't know that?
Who
You thought He was veiling Himself from Himself?
It's a veil.
Again.
It's a veil.
Okay, now let me see, this is where you're... I had such high hopes that maybe after this time you had kind of gotten better, but you disappoint.
I know, I'm disappointed at this point as well.
Let's do this.
We're both mutual here.
Gotcha. if you veil yourself from us, there's a veil from us. You are not veiled, you are complete. We don't have access to you.
Correct.
Right. Now, if you're saying Jesus had the knowledge and it was veiled from him, that means Jesus did not have access to it.
No.
As we do not see Allah in this world.
No.
That is, you know you're done. You know
what's done is when you said because you cut in. When you said that to have a veil means that you don't have access to that thing anymore. That's exactly what you said. So now you know the trouble you're in. Now stop it. You're in trouble because Allah has a veil. He veils His glory. So if having a veil means that you don't have access to that thing anymore, then that means Allah doesn't have access to that glory anymore. That's ridiculous.
Who's the veil from?
It's ridiculous.
Who's the veil from?
Whether it doesn't matter what's a veil from or not. It's a veil regardless.
Let me explain this again, right?
It's a veil regardless. You're in trouble.
No, I'm not in trouble.
You're in trouble.
You're trying to get out of this, all right?
You're in trouble.
When Allah veils from us,
you got to pick your words carefully.
We do not have access to Allah in this world, right? But Allah, the world is not veiled from Allah. But you said the knowledge is veiled from Jesus. So that would mean Jesus would not have access to the knowledge, not the knowledge to Jesus. And you know you're in trouble now.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So
let me finish. Allah has complete knowledge. None of the knowledge of Allah is ever hidden from Him. He has access to His knowledge at all times. None of His knowledge is hidden from Him. Allah is subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah, no
He's
problem.
above all of that, right? We are veiled. We do not see the Allah directly in this life. But that doesn't mean Allah doesn't see us. Allah sees everything. He's Alim and Basir, right? Allah has access to all of His glory, all of His knowledge at all times. We have a veil between us and Allah. Now, when your example, Jesus had the veil between Him and the knowledge. This is where you tried to trick and got caught. Jesus, He said that there was a veil, and then you said He did have the knowledge, which are two contradictory examples, and then you try to get out of it.
No, so
you said He had the knowledge, just didn't want to declare it.
Let you finish.
He said that there was a veil, it was hidden from Jesus at that time. He did not have access to that knowledge. Two different things, and you know that.
All right, so you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
All right, so it's interesting to me how inconsistent you are with this whole veil thing now.
I think I was pretty consistent there,
so what Danny has described to you, and what we're talking about,
which you gave a different explanation to, right?
Can I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, man. Let me rock.
All right, go for it.
Okay.
Rock on.
So when it's talking about veiling the knowledge, so we're talking about in Jesus, who has a divine nature and a human nature.
Okay.
So we're talking about two natures that are united in one person.
Okay.
So you got a human consciousness, a divine consciousness, where Jesus is living with the human consciousness,
like
and that's how he's limiting himself freely using this. If he wanted to, he can access his divine attributes. Let me finish, please.
Okay,
let me lay this out. Let me lay this out for you before you try to cut. See,
I'm just trying to understand.
What you're trying. You're already thinking of a rebuttal.
No, I'm not.
You're already thinking of a response. You're not even listening.
Not a response.
I'm just trying to sound like you. I'm just
two natures.
Let me just go.
Two natures united.
Let me just go.
Okay, go ahead.
So when you're talking about Jesus here,
okay,
and him veiling with his example, saying that he veiled this knowledge, this divine attribute of his knowledge.
Okay.
It's not that he doesn't have access to it. If he wanted to, he can unveil it if he wanted to.
But you're just
that doesn't mean that it's not there.
But the text
so that's let me finish, please. Okay, go ahead. So that's why I asked you, do you know what a contradiction is?
Yes.
Because a contradiction is saying, because you're trying to say that if Jesus veiled that knowledge, that means he didn't know it. That's what your position is.
That's what he said.
No, that's not what he said.
We'll say what he said.
That's not what he said.
We have a recording, inshallah, we'll play.
If he has access to that knowledge, he can bring it out if he wants.
Okay.
In his example.
Okay.
But he's veiling it, living as a human.
But in your example was not veiled.
You're cutting me.
Okay, go ahead. I'm just trying to understand your example.
See,
go ahead.
When I did that.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you. So what I'm trying to show you is, even in his example, there's no contradiction. Okay. It's a different explanation, yes, but it's not a contradiction, because I'm saying that Jesus knows, and he's saying that I'm not saying anything about not being veiled or anything. I didn't say anything about being veiled.
Right here, now you're trying to jump.
Earlier, Uthman, did I say anything about veil? Did I bring up a veil?
Let me ask you then.
Did I? No.
Let me be clear.
No, because when you brought this up, did I say anything about a veil?
Let you finish what you're saying.
No, I'm asking you straight up. Did I say anything about a veil?
No, you didn't.
Thank you.
You said he knew.
Thank you.
You said he,
so,
he knew it.
All right, so stick there.
It was not hidden from him.
So stick
it was
there.
not veiled from him.
Stick there.
You
no,
said
no, no.
he knew
Stop
it.
here.
He just didn't want to declare it.
Stop here.
He said
Uthman,
it was veiled.
you're going over me now.
No.
I see.
That's why I let you finish, right?
No, I wasn't done.
Okay, go ahead.
I asked you specifically, did I say this or not so that I can continue?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so thank you for admitting that I didn't say anything about veiling of knowledge or anything like that. I said Jesus knows. In his example, with Jesus' knowledge being veiled, does not necessitate that he doesn't know. It's just veiled knowledge. So those are not contradictory statements. You're trying to say that they're contradictory. They're not contradictory.
I will let you finish.
So even though I didn't bring up anything about a veil, I don't have to, because his explanation doesn't contradict my explanation. It's just a different explanation. And so when you're going about this and you're talking about if something is veiled, then it means you don't have access to it anymore, then you're in trouble, because Allah has a veil, and you're saying that by your knowledge, by your logic, Allah doesn't have access to his glory anymore. Here's an example. No, give me. No, I want. No, I'm not lying anything. No, hold on. I'm not done. I'm not done. I'm not done. Because I want to give you an example of Jesus unveiling himself. So you have the mountain of transfiguration.
There was a veil.
Huh? No, I'm giving you an example of Jesus, because I'm showing you how it's not a contradiction.
There was no veil anyway, right?
I didn't say anything like that. So, no, what are you chuckling for? You admitted that I didn't say anything about a veil.
I'll let you finish.
So please, just listen to me. Listen to me. All right, good. So look, what I want to show you is an example of Jesus unveiling himself. And what that means is what you said is false, meaning that if Jesus veiled something, it means he doesn't have access to it anymore. That's false, because veiling, just because he veils it, doesn't mean he can't unveil it when he wants. He has access to it when he wants. So on the Mount of Transfiguration, Matthew chapter 17, I believe it is, Jesus is on the mountain and he unveils, comes out of his human nature in some form, and now he's just shining bright. His form, his similitude is just shining bright like the sun, it describes it. Okay. And this is when Moses comes down and Elijah come down, and they're talking with him, and then the Father speaks and says, "This is my son, listen to him." Okay. Right? And so this is an example of Jesus unveiling and showing a glimpse of his nature, and showing that he has access to it. This is Matthew chapter 17.
No, I'm saying chronologically, before or after crucifixion.
This is before the crucifixion.
Okay, go ahead.
So he has access to this. Okay. But he chooses to veil it, chooses to unveil it whenever he wants.